It was in 2008, I was at university, and we started a business basically because we felt that there was something which wasn't being done. We enjoyed going out, we were clubbers, and we thought, why not? There was music which was going around at the time called dubstep. I don't know if you've all heard of it, but it was sort of blowing up in the club scene. There was no one else doing it, so we thought, why don't we? I used to be a student at John Rome School, not too far away, and I was taught by one of your teachers, Mr. Dixon, and from there I went to Nottingham, and when we arrived, yeah, as I say, there was no one else doing it, so we thought, okay, let's get in touch with the club, let's see if the club would let us do it. They gave us a date. I knew a couple of DJs from record shopping, got in touch with them, got the club night together, and from there it grew towards being an event which is now held in Brighton, London, Nottingham, Northampton and Leeds. And we cover the whole of the UK. And that was just over 4 years ago that we started. Through that, I think probably the most important thing which I've found along my journey of doing it is the need to sort of keep going. So if you start something, you know, we started really small. The place where we started was only 200 people, and now we're doing big shows with over, I mean, the big show I've promoted is 4,500 people. And to get from where we started to where we ended up, I think the most important thing for anyone who wants to get anywhere in life is to, when the going gets tough, just keep going, because at the end of the day, it's sort of that self-doubt is what will stop you from getting to where you want to get to. So I think that's the most important thing through my journey, which I've realised that you need to keep doing. Moving on from the sort of being a bit of a philosopher, I think the purpose of what we do and the people who we work with are event brands and sort of agents and artists and stuff like that. Some of the artists who we work with, like Miss Dynamite, Katie B, P Money, Scream and Benga, Shy FX, DJ Fresh. These are all people we work with. What we do is we'll go to their management, their agent, they have people who represent them, and we'll talk to them about putting on a club night. And we'll work on a club brand. So, for instance, as you can see up here, this is Digital Soundboy. And what that is, I don't know if anyone's heard of Shy FX. He's quite a big underground music artist. He runs a record label called Digital Soundboy. And what they'll want to do to promote the record label is put on club nights. So we'll go to them and say we want to put on a Digital Soundboy party, work with them on producing a show which represents their brand, and move on from there. The aims and objectives, I guess, of what we want to do and the people who we're working with is to, I think probably the key one is to grow the brand and the events of the people who we're working with, increasing the profile of that event brand. So for instance, Digital Soundboy, they've not really been putting on events before. Next Thursday, 20th of December, working on putting on their first London party with them. So what we'll do is we'll come up with a strategy to create a good foundation for an event brand for Digital Soundboy. Start off small, build up and get bigger. So for Digital Soundboy, what we've done is the first party that we're going to do is for free. It's a really small venue, 300 people, 150 tickets available for free. So if you want to go to that party, what you have to do is put your email address down, give us your name, give us your last name. Then what we do, so there's only 150 tickets available, but we might get, say, 1,000 people who want to come to the party. We get the email addresses of all 1,000 people, we'll select at random 150 who can come along. Now we've got 1,000 email addresses of relevant people who want to come to a Digital Soundboy party in the future. So that's sort of where we'll start, if you know what I mean. I think the next key objective of what we'll do is to increase the revenue stream. Obviously the party that we're doing is, the first party will be to get the data and to build up an audience. Then the next objective of what we're trying to do is to build up money, to try and monetize it, to earn money from it. So first party, this one, next party we'll put on in a bigger venue, say for 500 people, I might charge £10 for the tickets. Now when I put that event on sale with 500 people, I've got a relevant audience of 1,000 people with email addresses. I'll let them know that that event's going on, then I can start selling the tickets. So it's to increase the revenue stream and to create a strategy from that. And then my next aim is ultimately to survive in the current climate. At the moment, it's difficult. Everyone must see on the news talk about the recession and stuff like that. It's really competitive out there at the moment. People are still going out, punters are still wanting to spend money, but they're being more selective than ever before about what they go to and what they want to spend their money on. The important thing to do now is to create value for someone. So create something that they really are interested in that's at a good price. So rather than putting something on sale for £20, you might put it on sale at £10, and at £10 it's a good value, it's a good bargain, it's a good price. Very important at the moment. The objectives so my 3 key aims are to increase the profile of the brands we're working with, increase the revenue of the events, and survive in the current climate. To achieve these, our objectives are well, to increase the profile of the events that we're working with, we use a lot of marketing, so online promotion, stuff like Facebook, Twitter, ad banners on relevant music websites. So you'll get, there's one which I've got up on here called Resident Advisor. This is probably the biggest online music magazine in the world at the moment. You get regular daily features on there, so they might do an interview with artists, release mixes. They've got event sections so that you can go on there and check what's going on in London this weekend. And to market an event, what I'll do is I'll pay to put an advertising banner at the top here. So then whenever someone logs on, they can see my event and that's going on. There will be other parts of the website which my events will be listed on, but you pay for that, and that's quite a good way to sort of instantly get a hit. So yeah, online marketing. Another key point in achieving the objective of increasing the brand's profile is making sure that's a good party. It sounds simple enough, but if you go to a party and it's rubbish, you're not going to want to go back to it. So making sure that the product that you're putting on is good is one of the most key things to building up a good reputation for that event brand.
So how do you do that?
Good sound systems. So if you come along and it sounds rubbish, you're not going to want to go back. You want to hear it on a really loud, clear, good sound system. Stuff like making sure that you use good venues. Clean toilets, I'm sure you're all at school, you know about that. You don't want to go somewhere where it's horrible. Making sure that it's well staffed, so that the staff behind the bars are always sort of serving regularly. Making sure the security are quite friendly as well. Sometimes you can have heavy-handed security, and that can be a problem. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes we have problems. Sometimes at some of the bigger events with pickpockets and stuff like that, and you need a good heavy-handed door team to get rid of them. So it's making sure that all of that sort of stuff's locked and everything's working. Then on to the next aim, so achieving that aim through the objectives. As the reputation of the event's growing, word of mouth gets around, more punters will come through the door naturally, because you'll go to the party, you'll tell your mate about the party. I went to this really wicked party, they've got another one on next month. Let's all get together, let's go down. Naturally that means that more people will start coming and your revenue will increase because of that. So word of mouth is something that leads to increased revenue. Important point. But that all derives from having a good party. If you don't have a good party, word of mouth doesn't come, your revenue won't increase. Most important thing with everything is to make sure the product's good. Everything else can lead from that, but the most important thing is the product being good. Increasing the revenue and the amount of money that you earn will also come from reducing your costs. So if I want to put on a really good party and make a bit of a statement, I can book, let's say, Mr. Dynamite, KB, people like that. Problem with booking those guys is they're really expensive. So what you might do at the start is book really big lineups with really big artists to sort of create a bit of a splash, build up your brand awareness. But then once you've built up a reputation for that party, you might only need, say, just Mr. Dynamite or just KB. So therefore you reduce your costs, increasing profitability, increasing revenue, doing good. To survive in the current climate, I think key things that you really need to do is to sort of manage your risk that you're exposed to. So, say in maybe 2-3 years ago when things were a bit sort of more easy, if you wanted to put it, you could take more of a punt on something. So, if there was stuff going on and around, and you thought, yeah, alright, you know what, that sounds like it might be okay. I'll have a go at putting that event on, or I might have a go at booking that artist. Nowadays, I wouldn't want to take those risks. I would only really want to go with surefire bets, things which I know will work. Sometimes even when it's something from the outset which you think might work, it might not work. But at the time of when you're making that decision, you need to be 100% sure. So managing the risk that you're exposed to is important, not taking too much of a punt on something which might be 50-50. And then also being quick to react. If there's an event which you've got on sale, put it on sale for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden sales are a bit slow. Maybe you want to get rid of one of the artists who's on the bill, who's costing a lot of money, get rid of them. If it's in a big venue that's costing you a lot of money, move it into a small venue. You need to be on your feet, you need to be quick to react to things. If something's not looking like it's going to do well, you need to think quickly and get on that and deal with it. I'd say those are the two important things to survive in the current climate. That's pretty much activity one, so does anyone want to ask any questions?
Well, sorry, one more. Will that be anything ethical that you do?
I'm here today.
Yeah.
Giving back to the community.
What about unethical?
Anything unethical that we do? I suppose, to be honest, I mean, you know, you wouldn't really necessarily. You always want to minimise the amount of tax that you're paying. You might question whether that's ethical or not. To me, it's good business practice. There's nothing illegal about it. Someone might say, is that ethical? Someone could question you on that. Should you be paying more tax? I don't know. What do you think?
So are there, yeah, go on, Liza.
How did you progress from a little company?
So what I did was when I started my thing, little one, 200-person thing, there was another guy in Nottingham where I was, and he was already running quite big parties. So got his attention, he saw what I was doing, and then he got me a job, started working for him, and we started doing stuff together. He helped me grow what I'd started, and it grew from there. After maybe about 18 months, I was like, right, cool, I think I've got the hang of this. And I went my own way. But we still, like to this day, I mean, I still talk to him on the phone maybe twice a day. We do a lot of work together. But I'm no longer an employee. So I got kind of what I could out of him, and I went my own way. He was cool with that. You know.
Were there any difficulties?
Loads and loads. I'd say probably the biggest is, you know, just carrying on. You know, if something goes wrong, you feel rubbish about it. You know, if you put a party on and not many people come, which happens, why carry on sometimes? And I think that's the important thing, is to get up and keep going. Definitely.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, when you first started, it was kind of hard retaining the customers, like the
Retaining the
yeah,
customers.
because like you have a party, like those people come, and like, the next one, no one comes.
I mean, at the start, I was at university still, so there was like, you know, it was quite a big crowd, so it's kind of still being at school. So imagine if you put on a party now, and you're like, right, I'm having a house party, so you tell all your mates in school, tell everyone, right, I want everyone to go and tell everyone I'm putting on a party. So because it was quite a small community which we were sort of targeting, it was quite easy just to sort of get the word out. And you know, you rely on people. You'd be like, if someone's your mate, you'd be like, geez, come and sort us out, get all your mates to come down. And then there might be someone else who's like, you know, who you know is to be quite popular. You'd be like, come and get all of that lot down. And you know, before you know it, you tell 10 people and they've got 10 people they can tell, and you've got 100 people already coming down. So to fill the smaller ones, it was kind of just word of mouth. We did a bit of promotion, posters, flyers, all of that sort of stuff, and that helped. But yeah, it was mostly word of mouth. And then once you built that reputation of putting on good parties, then it just kind of ends up becoming a lot easier.
Any other questions on activity 1? No? Alright, good. Should we move on to activity 2 then?
Cool.
Thanks.
Right, so in this activity I've got to describe what the functional areas of the business, what we do now. Marketing, which is a big part of what we do a lot of online stuff. Maybe sort of 10, 12 years ago, before the internet was so big, a lot of music marketing, promotional marketing came from, I'm sure you still see it now, fly posting. So you'd be like driving along and someone would jump out of the car, put up a poster, put some, what is it, like sticky glue, so it sticks to the poster. You've got a poster. That's illegal, and when you do that, you do run a risk of getting a fine from the local council. For a bigger show, I might still do something like that, but nowadays I'd say 60–70% of the focus of our marketing would be online. So stuff like this website, Resident Advisor, putting the banners up, which I've mentioned. Facebook's a huge thing because people spend so much time on Facebook. That's a really good tool to sort of get your message out there. The other great thing about Facebook is you can be really targeted. So let's say I want to target a certain artist's fans. Facebook knows what you guys like because you click like on your Facebook. So therefore I can sort of specifically target certain sorts of people and what their interests are. So Facebook's a really, really good tool for marketing. That's generally sort of one of the areas which I sort of specialise in, and that's what a lot of my time goes on. Finances. At the moment I get a lot of help from my mum. She's run her own business for quite a while. And she comes in maybe once a month, just gives us a hand. I do a lot of the P&Ls. My business partner.
So what is P&L?
P&L is a profit and loss account. So for an event, I'll write down all the event costs on one side, add them up, total costs, and then on the other side I have my revenue, which will be the amount of tickets bought, and that's a P&L.
Do you sell things like shirts and that, like with the?
Yeah, we've got an online shop. It's not something which I've really spent a huge amount of time on at the moment because a lot of sort of my time gets dragged into making sure the events are selling, and that would be a secondary thing. So it is something which I really do want and need to get sort of more on. But I'm not really spending much time on it at the moment. It's mostly because I'm really busy with getting the events done. But yeah, no, you're right. That is something which we need to do more of. So yeah, I get help from my mum. I've got an accountant who does my accounts at the end of the year every year, and then me and my business partner do regular accounts and just keep tabs on everything. The production and operations. For instance, at the moment we're doing some warehouse parties, so we'll rent a big warehouse of someone who owns one. And for that night, we'll bring in all the staging, all the sound system, all the lights, all the staff. All of that takes a lot of organisation. We've got an assistant called Regan, and what she'll do is she'll sort of, we'll negotiate the deals with the relevant parties, so there'll be a sound system company, and we'll negotiate with them. And then once we've done that, we'll pass it on to Regan, and she'll make sure that, you know, there's someone there at the warehouse to sort of make sure they get in. Yeah.
You know, like when you do those, like when you give it like the places, like you have to get in contact with the local community as well. Like,
yeah, like a little bit. What we try and do to minimise on that is make sure that we use. Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Yeah,
Let's see, you carry on. I'll just come and see it.
Got an audience now. So what we'll try and do to minimise the effect of that is root out areas which don't have many local residents. So, you know, a good warehouse for something which we might want to do be somewhere on an industrial estate where there's not many people living around there. So, you know, because if you live somewhere and someone's throwing on a big party for 2,000 people, it's noisy, but the people are going to be leaving quite drunk, so it's going to have a bit of a detrimental effect on the people who are living around there. So to minimise on that, we try and root out good areas where there's not too much sort of local residents who can have a problem with it. The ways in which these functional areas will communicate with each other, mostly will be sort of quick questions, will be over email. If I'm out of the office, might get a text or a phone call. But I think really important things and good communication is regular meetings. So once a week, me and my assistant will sit down together and we'll just sort of review the last week, talk about what she's done, what she needs to do next week, and so just generally have a little bit of a catch-up. Those things, I think, doesn't take a lot of time. It might be only sort of an hour or two. But I think for her, it's sort of really good to get her head around what she needs to do, and also know if she's doing a good job or not. I think, yeah, regular meetings are as important as any other sort of form of communication, as well because it's face-to-face. If you're doing something over email, it might get lost, you know, like if you write something in a certain tone, you might write something a bit jokey and it gets taken the wrong way. Whereas if you're doing something face-to-face, there's no sort of, everyone knows what you're trying to say.
Sorry.
Sorry, what about the human resource functions?
So human resources, I mean, we're not really hiring. Human resources is when you sort of like hire in, how you look after your staff and stuff like that. Because we're quite a small operation, it's not a huge department, we'll sort of spread that across ourselves. So if we were like, I mean, recently when I got my assistant, what we did was just marketed online through Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, that we were looking to hire someone. And then we performed interviews and stuff like that, but we don't do it regularly because we're not regularly taking on staff. And when we do it, it will be sort of, say, we'll market the position, and then we'll talk to, we'll pull them in, all the people who we want to have a chat with, and then sit down and then see how we feel about them. Maybe set them a task, ask them to perform something and see how they do, and then make a decision from there. Any more questions?
Where do you see your business in like 10 years?
I think 10 years is a bit of a difficult one because it's so far away. Generally, I'd say 5 years is sort of where I sort of generally try and have a foresight for. Ultimately, to put it simply, I guess I want to be the biggest promoter in the UK. I think if I was talking about 10 years, that would probably be where I want it. The next 5 years, I guess it's sort of, like London's probably the biggest market for what we do. So if you can create a real strong foothold in London and become the biggest promoter in London, then that gives you a really good stable base to go elsewhere and become the biggest in the UK. So I think the next 10 years, ultimately, we'll try and be the biggest promoter in the UK. But yeah, for the next sort of 5 years, we'll probably be trying to get a really stable, good foot in London. Anything else?
How would you have to be to be in the party?
18.
Has anyone got any other questions about what the functional areas do? Or is everyone got enough
Anything,
information?
doesn't matter.
Okay. Sam, what about you?
nothing.
No?
Nothing to mind there.
Okay, well, let's move on to,
Activity 3, stakeholders.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, your stakeholder is the government helping you.
Help me.
Yeah, with your business.
I don't like getting grants or anything like that. I guess like the closest the government comes to really helping would be like, say sometimes right, we might run certain parties which are like, you know, a bit of a rougher crowd. You might get some trouble down there. And if you know that a certain artist will attract a certain sort of crowd, and that there might be a bit of trouble. When I say trouble, sort of the main sort of cause of irritants at an event is people going around. Say if you're standing at the bar, you've got your phone out, someone robs your phone out of your hand, then what will happen, and the way that they'll work it, is one person will take the phone, and then they'll run into the crowd, and then there'll be another person that they'll give the phone to, and they'll give it to another person, and they'll give it to another person. So let's say the person who gets the phone taken will go, right, it was him. You'll be with the bouncers, and then you go, right, it was him. And then you go to that person, and you go to him, and then he's got nothing on him. And he's not got the phone, he's not got a chain, he's not anything to show that he was the one who did it. So you might kick him out, but then there's a little sort of, you know, there's a few of them. So it's really hard to sort of get them. So what you might do, if you know that there might be risk of something like that going down, is getting in undercover police. And what they'll do is they'll watch the operation. So they'll watch it happen a few times. So they'll watch the person who's taking it, then they'll watch who they give it to, then they'll watch who it give it to, and then they'll watch who it all ends up with. Because it will all end up with one person who might have a bag or something like that, and they'll put it all into that. So they'll watch it happen a few times, and then once they know who exactly it is who's involved and who it is who's doing it, then they'll get the bouncers and they'll get them all and put them all in a room, and then they can do them because the undercover policeman's seen who it is, and they can get them all together. So I guess that's probably about as close as I get to much help of the government, or direct help. I mean, I've never had any grants or anything like that at the moment. You do hear about things where people get grants and stuff like that, but I've never applied for one. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, councils and stuff like that, most of the clubs which I use have already got club licenses, so most of the sort of interaction with the government comes from them. So yeah, I don't have much, but that's about it. I'll move on to activity 3. We're going to talk about stakeholders. Stakeholders are generally people who have anything to do with a business. So anyone to do with it. So it could be the artists, could be the punters, could be the agents of the artists, myself, anyone who has any sort of contact with the business, local community, they're all sort of relevant stakeholders. They all have an interest in the business. So I mean, the most obvious one to start off with would be myself. Obviously I want to make some money, I want to have a living, so I'm one of the relevant stakeholders in the business. The agents of the artists, they want somewhere where their artists can play, so I'm useful to them because I give them work. The managers, a lot of the artists who we work with now have managers, so what the managers' objectives will be is to make the artists who they're working with bigger. So if we had, say, Miss Dynamite and Kate B, for instance, working together on the same bill, the managers, and this happens a lot, there will be a bit of a sort of power struggle as to who goes at the top of the bill. So it's often seen as the person who's at the top of the bill is the most important. So Miss Dynamite's manager will not want her to be below Katie B, and Katie B's manager will not want her to be below Miss Dynamite, vice versa. So often a lot of what we'll have to do is sort of manage what we can do. Sometimes we might just put them together or sort of work out some way to appease them and keep them both happy. But yeah, the managers are more and more playing a big part in what we do. The artists, everyone wants to come and play a good show, no one wants to play to no one. So keeping those guys happy, they're a relevant stakeholder in what we do. often keeping them happy is generally buying them expensive champagne and expensive vodka and stuff like that. But also making sure the show's good. The employees, my assistant, everyone else who works with us, the accountant, they get money out of us, they all earn off of us, so as long as we're doing well, they do well. And the local community, no one wants to live in a noisy house, so we have to work with them, and like I say, generally to try and sort of keep them happy, what we'll do is make sure that parties happen somewhere that's quite far away from residents. As you asked earlier, the government. Police, and you know, the police can help, as I've mentioned before. They can sort of come down if there's a bit of trouble with being or something like that. The police can come along and help out. Often as well, the police can be a bit of a hindrance to what we want to do. They might want to make send a bit of a message out to the young community that they're a presence. They might do a raid on a club or something like that. I did upload a video, which was from last Friday. This was Friday at a club which isn't too far away from my office. And this is the police coming through. The club had 50 people in it at this moment in time. And this is how many police they used with those 50 people.
What do they want to learn?
Huh?
What do they want to learn?
I wanted to make a point.
So, what that means for
Still going.
Tom, come with us.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, wow.
We talk about
Okay.
Maybe like expand the goals and then rate the stakeholders in terms of
Whoa. Oh, wow.
and reasons why.
Does that mean
And then that just so that so first just expanding their roles and their responsibilities, really trying to go to and then in order and then people will incorporate reasons why he's much important. And then if you also talk about supplies, security, anyone just like really expand on that.
Was there a helicopter there?
Yeah, that's what that shot's from, the helicopter. That was for a club of 50 people at 10 o'clock at night.
some Brick Lane, isn't it?
Some Brick Lane in East London. Why they did it, I don't really know. But sometimes there might be
Was
sort
that
of
happening to your business?
No, luckily not. Really happy
Why
about it.
luckily?
Well, you know, I don't think the police really sort of know exactly who they're going to be affecting when they do it.
Do they actually?
I think they're just
Why do they want to do it? Just
I think it's to send a message that, you know, that they're in charge, that they're in control.
Say the police done that at one of your parties in London, you know, would you attract less customers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, if you paid, the party's over once they've done that. So if you paid 20 quid to get into my party and then they did that, the party's over. It's not happening. No more.
Tom, do you want to stand up again?
Yeah, so you'd be in a bit of trouble if that happened to you, and you'd lose a lot of reputation if that happened. So, I mean, that's probably one of the adverse things that can happen. Police can also help you out, but, you know, naturally there's always disadvantages to it as well. In terms of the stakeholders and what their effects are on the business and how important they are, the artists, the managers, the agents, they all rely on me to earn their artists money. Nowadays, record sales, because of sort of piracy on the internet and stuff like that, the business model of how the music industry works is changing. You know, unless you're a pop star, you're not really going to earn much money out of record sales. So the way that people are now earning money and the way that they're treating their music, the music is there to promote their live performances. So the live performances is what earns them the money, and the music that they put out is to promote those live performances, build up their profile so they can charge a better fee and earn more money. And what's important for the agents at the end of the day is to sort of strike a balance. So when I deal with the agents, the agents are representing the artist's interests, so they're trying to get as much money out of me as possible. And my job as a promoter is to try and pay as little as possible. So there's a negotiation going on. They want more money, I want to pay less money. And what's important is to strike a good working balance. If I'm paying someone who doesn't pull in a big crowd, thousands and thousands of pounds, it's not a sustainable model, because if I'm just going to be paying them to put on a party, I need to be earning from that. But also, if I stop putting on a party, they're never going to get another gig. So what we need to do is work out sort of what's sustainable and what can sort of happen again and again. So that's the agent's role, is sort of striking a balance. The managers, as I sort of touched on earlier, their main sort of job role is to build up the reputation of the artist and make them be seen as I guess as a more important figure than maybe they would be if they weren't involved. So they're trying to add value to that artist by getting them on the right shows, getting them on the right place on the bill, and building the artist up through that. The employees of the business, I think they are there to earn you money, to earn money from you. But a good employee for you will be someone who's sort of involved in the business. You don't want to just take someone who's just there to take a check home at the end of the month. You want someone who's sort of passionate about what you do and ultimately wants to sort of grow within your business with you. So, you know, at the sort of recruitment stage, you need to identify someone who is passionate about that. And then their responsibility to you, once you've taken them on, is to really help and aid you to grow the business. And that's kind of the most important thing in what you want. Someone can maybe get something wrong while working with you, but as long as their heart's in the right place and as long as you see that they're really passionate about it, I'll let someone get away with doing something wrong a couple of times happily, as long as I know that their heart's in the right place. Local community, yeah, they just want an easy life. So as long as you appease them and keep your stuff away from them, they'll let you go. As I say, yeah, government stuff, there's crackdowns, stuff which they'll want to do which will infringe on you, but then they can also help you. And you just need to sort of work around them. Are there any questions on any of that?
Who's the most important stakeholder?
I think ultimately I'd probably be the most important, because if I wasn't doing it, that sounds really egotistical, I know, but if I wasn't doing it, business wouldn't exist. So me and my business partner ultimately are responsible for the business existing. So for us, for this business, we are the most important people. The next most important person, I guess, would be the artists and the record labels who we're working with. Without them, again, we are reliant on them. So in order for these things to happen, we need those guys on board. After that, it would be the agents who represent them, because if I don't have the agent support and the agent doesn't want to work with me, then it's going to be hard to book that artist. Then it would be the employees. I'm kind of underplaying their importance a little bit, I guess. I think I'd put them on a level pegging with the agents. They're also very important to what we do. They'll ensure your survival in tough times, and they'll help you out when you're busy, and sort of ensure that you can do what you set out to do. The local community, I think, would probably, I think they're on a level pegging with the police. You know, if you run a tight ship and you've got no problems, the police and the local community will generally leave you alone. But you know, if all of a sudden you're putting in parties in miserable residential areas, the police and the local community are going to come knocking, and they're going to be a problem. So,
What customers?
huh?
What customers?
Yeah, the customers, I think, customers are an interesting one, because at the end of the day, if you've got, you can always build up new customers from doing new different promotions, but the holy grail is to have a regular crowd who always come. So they are a relevant and very important stakeholder, but they're often quite transient. So say if someone's quite young and 18, 19, by the time you're 22, you're probably not going to really want to be going out anymore, or you might have moved on to doing different things. You might not want to go clubbing, you might want to go to bars. So there's quite a high turnover of customers in what we do. If you were like, say, a BT gas customer, You might be a customer for 50, 60 years until you die. Or a bank, for instance. You'll have that same bank account with the same bank for almost all of your life. Whereas with us, we have a really high turnover of sort of new customers coming through, people who just get to 18, then they want to start going out. And by the time they're 21, 22, they'll probably have moved on to something different. So we have a quite high turnover of customers, which is good because if something goes wrong, then there's always new customers out there to get. At the same time, there's not much security in that, so you always have to be attracting them and gaining new customers. So yeah.
How did you deal with that? You know, like other clubs, like, because you can open up as well. How do you deal with other clubs? Like, trying to,
how do I compete?
yeah, like that.
There's lots of different ways. I mean, I guess, you know, I've worked with a lot of the artists who I work with now for a long time, so there'll be an element of loyalty. So let's say with someone like DJ Fresh, if I wanted to book him, after a certain amount of time of me booking him and working with him and his agent, there'll only be me who can maybe book him in that town, and he'll just be like, right, I'm only going to play for Tom. And then, so that safeguards against other competitors coming in and just booking something, so there's a loyalty to me because I've done the shows and I've made them work. So that's probably your first port of call, is the loyalty from the artist and the agent. And you know, often these people, you know, I've known them for a while now, so it'll be like, come on geez, like, don't play for them, and they'll be like, alright, cool. So yeah, the loyalty from the artists and the agents, and then also sort of, if things do get tough and someone is really sort of making a benchmark and really coming for you, then you can always compete on stuff like price and increasing your marketing and sort of outshining them. So I might, for instance, book a really big lineup and put it on at a really cheap price, put it on the same night as they are, and go for them, and then sort of undercut them, so the first night that they do loses money, and then they might not really want to do it again or something like that. Any more questions? Yeah?
What stakeholder affects the company the most?
Pardon?
What stakeholder affects the company the most?
I think ultimately the one which I get worried about the most would be the agents. If you know, you get some agents who really play hardball, who want you to pay a lot of money for an artist who's not that big, and you might need that artist, so you end up having to pay a lot of money for that. So if they're not willing to sort of understand your needs, then that can be quite a big problem. So I think the ones which I worry about are the agents, but the ones which I think affect the company most would be ourselves, me, my business partner, and ultimately the employees. Because if we don't do a good job, then the business doesn't perform and the business doesn't make money. So, and that's not sustainable. So I think ultimately the ones which will affect the business surviving is us. But the ones which I worry about the most will not be us, because I know what we can do. The ones which I worry about are the agents. So yeah, ultimately us, and then probably those guys and the artists second.
What is the average earning of a party?
On a party? It depends on the size of the party. I mean, the thing with what we do is a risk business. Everyone who you're working with, you have to agree to pay. So, the sound system, the artist, everyone needs to be paid on the night no matter what. So, you know, if you do a party and it does 1,000 people and you were hoping to do 1,000 people, then yeah, you can walk away with. I mean, I'd say an average would be sort of between £4,000 and £6,000 on an event profit. But if an event doesn't perform well, I've lost that on the night as well. I mean, I've lost sort of between £6,000 and £8,000 on parties as well. So you are exposed to the risk. If something doesn't perform, then you're going to pay for it. And I think that's also what keeps you going, knowing that, you know, if I don't make this work, I'm going to have to pay for it out of my pocket. And that kind of really focuses you as well. So yeah.
Is there a conflict between stakeholders?
Yeah, all the time. Between myself and the agents, the guys who represent the artists, they're always wanting to get the fees up. So every day I'll be having a different negotiation or a different argument with the agents who represent the artists about how much I should be paying. Yeah, that'll be the most regular conflict. Every now and again, you might get an artist who, you know, some of these guys are young kids, like they might be 20, 21, they're earning 3-4 grand a week, doing really well, and you know, they might have a really big ego, and they turn up to your club late, acting like they're, you know, acting like they're Superman or something like that. And sometimes, you know, you have to deal with them, and sometimes it's a bit difficult, and sometimes they come in late, and you have to say your piece and tell them what you think of them being late. That's much less that will happen. I think the most regular occurrence will be with the agents.
Say your headline act, like that was set to play, was ill, and then like not all the customers was aware. What would happen?
So yeah, I mean that does happen as well. Like sometimes there might be, you know, someone's got an abroad gig that's say the day before, and their flight gets cancelled. There's like bad weather or whatever. What generally will happen is the agent who represents them will have like quite a few different artists. So if one of their artists couldn't make it, they'll try and send you a replacement artist who is available. If they can't do that...
You got an example of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had examples of where I've not been able to get a replacement as well, and then you're in trouble. Sometimes you have to issue sort of... the best way to do it is just to be sort of open with the customers on the night as they're walking through the door, put a note on the door explaining, sorry, but this artist can't attend.
We got a specific example.
Yeah, alright, so there was this dubstep DJ called Joker, and he was booked for an event last October, and he basically had an album out at that time, and his management had decided that they were going to take him to America for a US tour to promote the album, and not told the agent. So the agent had booked the show, we'd started promoting the show, we'd been selling the show, and then a week before the event we got a phone call to say, unfortunately Joker's going to be in America for this. So at which point we were like, right, okay, we'd already sold loads of tickets for the event, it was looking good. I was like, and so I put the pressure on the agent, I was like, look, this is your problem, this isn't my problem, I've not done anything wrong, but you need to sort me out here. So she had JME on her books, and she had another guy called Koki. So what she did, she gave me JME and Koki in replacement for Joker. So there was no real complaints on that because everyone got to see two other really good artists. So that, yeah, you know, that stuff does happen. You always try. It's always a different solution to the problem, but generally you'll come up with something.
How does your responsibility affect the company?
Sorry, what's that?
How does your responsibility affect the business?
How does my responsibility affect the business? I don't quite understand what you mean. So how do I affect the business?
Yeah.
Well, you know, if I don't do my job well, then the business won't survive. We won't put on shows, and we won't make any money. We'll probably lose money. So I guess my ultimate responsibility is to get out of bed and go to work in the morning and do what I do. Make sure everyone gets paid, etc., etc. Yeah.
You do like special events like Christmas and that, and New Year's, you know.
Yeah, definitely. We've got this one. This one's like a Christmas party.
And do a lot, like, not around those times, you get a lot of people.
Extra people.
Yeah, like.
New Year's Eve you do. New Year's Eve's pretty good because it's New Year's Eve, everyone wants to go out. You can charge more on New Year's Eve because everyone's prepared to pay more. Adversely, staff costs go up. No one wants to work on New Year's Eve, so people behind the bar are going to expect to be paid more. But yeah, New Year's Eve's good. New Year's Eve's a big one. Christmas parties and stuff like that. You know, we're doing this little thing to sort of promote this label who we're working with, Digital Soundboy. So we'll do like a little Christmas party, try and tie it in. It gives you a bit of a marketing angle, you can sort of make something out of it. Generally speaking, I don't think Christmas parties pull in many more people than any other time of year. But the one time of the year which is really good is New Year's Eve. Also when students just get back, so they get their student loans, and then they come back to university. So it's sort of like February time when they're just getting back, they've just got all of their money in. So that's always a good time to promote as well. Stuff like that, you sort of generally start seeing sort of waves and good times and stuff like that, and you work it out as you go on. Any more questions?
Any other questions? All right, well, should we talk about the customers and the legislation?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of legislation, what we have to deal with, I guess, would be a lot of the stuff would be accounting stuff. So, you know, the regular filing of accounts, making sure that the books are all up to date. If you don't do it, and you don't do it well, and you don't do it properly and professionally, then you'll get fined. So that's sort of the legislation which will